Watch a toddler trying to take their first steps. They wobble, their knees buckle, and inevitably, they wipe out. It's an exhausting process. In fact, researchers observing infants learning to walk found that the average toddler falls roughly 17 times every single hour. Imagine if babies processed those falls the way we do now, with the embarrassment and frustration of an adult. If every infant stopped trying after the first stumble, humanity's default mode of transportation today would involve rows of empty chairs and quiet hallways. Yet somewhere along the way to adulthood, that resilience fades. We pitch a project that gets rejected, or we bomb an interview, and we stop trying for months or even years. Why is that? How do we go from biologically hardwired learning machines who practically bounce off the floor to adults so sensitive that a single critical email can derail our entire week? Persistence is not a rare talent you have to learn from a seminar. It is a baseline human instinct that you already possess. Returning to that instinct allows us to process current obstacles with the same mechanical indifference we had as infants. To understand what changed, we have to look at the cognitive mechanics of a fall. Your brain interprets the exact same physical failure differently depending on your age. This diagram shows a wireframe model of human balance. When a toddler tips over, their brain doesn't register shame. It registers neutral, spatial data. The nervous system is simply documenting the exact geometry of the fall. The infant mind acts like a strict physics engine. It records that leaning 15 degrees to the left results in a loss of equilibrium. On the very next attempt, the brain restricts that specific angle. It is pure physical correction. Adults introduce a cognitive distortion called identity conflation. Identity conflation is the psychological error of turning a single failed attempt at a task into a permanently failed identity. You didn't just fail to secure the client. You believe you are now a failure as an entrepreneur. Breaking out of this state requires separating our emotional ego from the raw performance data. We have to treat the failure as a technical glitch rather than a character flaw. We can use a 3-step behavioral framework to move the adult brain back toward that relentless toddler mindset. Step 1 is to depersonalize the fall. The next time a project tanks, treat it like a laboratory test. You didn't ruin your career. You ran an objective experiment that successfully ruled out one incorrect variable. Step 2 is to shrink the next step. When a goal feels overwhelming, the brain often freezes. To counteract this, we can fracture the task into a staircase of tiny, manageable increments. Think back to our physical analogy. When a toddler hits the floor, their next goal isn't to sprint a marathon. Their only goal is to roll over and get to their knees. By lowering the barrier to entry, you bypass the psychological wall. Step 3 is to celebrate the stand. Our dopamine systems need fuel along the journey. If you wait until the very end to reward yourself, you'll burn out. You have to reward the friction of the effort itself. Systematically applying these steps helps recalibrate the brain to view a setback as a technical adjustment rather than a personal crisis. When we zoom out and look at the macro timeline of adult achievement, the reality of success looks different than we imagine. Take a look at this line graph tracking progress over time. We often imagine a smooth upward trajectory, but when you look close, the line is composed of sharp, jagged drops, followed by immediate corrective spikes. Continuous, corrected failure is the mechanism behind every successful system, from biological evolution to aerospace engineering. You already have the track record to prove you can handle this. In your early life, you survived thousands of falls. You hit the ground, collected the data, and stood back up. Because you literally walked your way out of your earliest failures, you already possess the biological hardware required to get up and take the next step today.